Katherine Hauth about a summer reading program that she started many years ago with children in her neighborhood. And Katherine, tell us how that came to be.
Well, it was one of those happy accidents. I was just talking to a neighbor of mine who was expressing concern because her third grader wasn't reading well and didn't like to read. And she worked for the public schools and was very much aware that the summer, which we were starting at that time, was the time that many students lost a lot of what they had gained the last year in reading and in math. So she was very concerned about her daughter and just expressed that to me, perhaps knowing that I had been a teacher and was a children's writer. And because this was a new neighborhood, I didn't want to impose myself as an authority with the girl for doing something formal like tutoring, but I thought that perhaps I could read to her during the summer and keep her in touch with books and stories and things, the content of story that you can find in books, so that she wouldn't lose touch with that and find out what her interests were. So we agreed to for me to have her come over to my house the next Wednesday, and I would read to her for about half an hour, whatever seemed appropriate.
But you ended up reading not only to that child, but to her friend and to other children in the neighborhood. How did that happen?
Well, that was definitely an accident. The day that we had appointed, she didn't come. And so I went over to her mom's house, and she said, oh, she forgot, but she's up at a neighbor's. Why don't you go and knock on the door, and I'm sure she'll want to continue. She just forgot. So I went up to the neighbor's and knocked on the door, and oh yes, the daughter was apologized, and yes, she did want to hear the reading. Well, her friend wanted to hear the reading too that she was visiting. So fine, we start walking back down the hill, and a little bit later, out of a house, two sisters pop and say, "Where are you going?" And we said, "Well, we're going to Catherine's for reading. Can we come?" Okay. I checked with the girl whom I had this contract with for reading to make sure that this wasn't infringing on her private space, and she seemed fine with it. So sure, we'll do that. Later, a couple houses later, a boy and then another boy pop out. "Where are you going? Can we come too?" And so, this was a new neighborhood, and the parents really didn't know me very well. Also, it happens that there had been some suspicious activity around schools, and the public was being warned about adults with children, spying on children, being too near the playground. And here I was now with 4 extra children whose parents didn't know where they were going, and they were going to disappear into my house. And
Katherine Hauth, Pied Piper.
Katherine Hauth, Pied Piper. So I insisted that they go tell their parents where they were going and what we were going to do, and if it was okay, come back out and join us. So that's how we started to get more people.
And it lasted for how many years?
It lasted for almost 17 years.
17 years.
As long, the neighborhood changed.
Yeah.
Some people grew out of it, some people moved, others' families came in, and it just changed.
But you remained the reading lady.
I remained the reading lady, and as long as the kids asked for it, I would give it, and they asked for it every year.
And sometimes you'd read for a very short period of time.
It was up to the kids, because it was for them to enjoy and to feel enjoyment in books. If sometime they were tired and it didn't gel that day for reading, I read as short as a half an hour, and I read as long as 3 hours.
3 hours,
Yes.
Because they wanted to keep on going.
They, or at least part of them, wanted to keep on going. Because one of the things was a child could leave at any time. except in the middle of a story.
Oh,
We
fair
were
enough.
going to respect the story and the author's work, but I was not going to keep the kids for a half an hour because we said we were going to be a half an hour. It was the students.
So it's very clear to me what this meant for the children. But what did it mean for you? How did this feed you as a children's writer?
Oh, it was wonderful. And, this is certainly not why it happened, but I got to know where kids' minds were. I got to know what their interests were, and over 17 years, how those interests changed. For instance, in the beginning, they were much more interested in quiet books, family books. I have a sister, my sister is deaf, or always grandma, or something about a grandfather and taking care of him, doing some tiny things with him. And as time went on, they more and more wanted to be entertained, wanted books that would make them laugh. So this is where the culture was going, and then the discussions we had. So what were children interested in? What really piqued their interest in the books, and the conversations we had were wonderful for me as a writer.
And back to the children, you by the time this ended for you, you were seeing generations of children.
Yes. Surprise one day when one of the first students was older. I think she was about 11 or 12 when we first got together. She was one of the first of the Pied Piper group. And several years later, I get her son in the group when he visits his grandma, who is still my neighbor.
Oh, that is just lovely.
And so that was the carryover.
Oh,
and
such a lovely
charming
story.
for me. I loved that she had liked and the grandmother had liked the group so much that they really wanted him to come.
And that's a circle completed, or a spiral going on into that boy's life as he grew up. That is so beautiful. Thank you, Katherine Hauth. You started this in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Yes.
And I suspect that there are people with the fire for books and for children who could do this elsewhere. It's such a simple idea, and but the thing that seems to be important to me about it is that connection that you forged between yourself and these and the books and these groups of kids that came by.
Children. Yes, it shows itself in a way I absolutely love, is that I'm invited to the kids' weddings. Not all of them, but we have a close enough contact that I get invited to some of the weddings when they're, and get the announcements when they're having children, and sometimes some of them have moved, but when they come back in to town, they drop in to see me, and that gives me so much pleasure. And again, it continues. Who did these people become as adults? And of course, I'm hoping that they remember about reading for their own children.
Thank you so much. Katherine Hauth, author of What's for Dinner and other lovely picture books, talking to me about a reading program, a summer reading program that she started in her neighborhood in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.